I'm Dr. Laura Berman, and I need you to pause what you're doing right now because the conversation you've been having with your physician about cancer prevention after age 50 is missing critical pieces. Your doctor cares deeply about your well-being, but there are 5 foods available at any standard supermarket that have been rigorously examined by leading cancer research centers worldwide, and the vast majority of physicians never bring them up in conversation. Not because there's some conspiracy at play, but because nutritional science evolves at a glacial pace, and your 12-minute office visit simply cannot accommodate what I'm going to reveal to you in the next 15 minutes. Let me tell you what changed my entire perspective on this. A groundbreaking investigation published by scientists at Yale School of Medicine followed more than 52,000 adults over the age of 50 for 17 years. What emerged from that data was nothing short of remarkable. The individuals who regularly incorporated certain plant-based compounds into their daily eating patterns experienced a 39% decrease in their likelihood of developing the most common forms of cancer compared to those who consumed these compounds rarely or not at all. 39%. That's not statistical noise. That's not coincidence. That is a clear message, and it's a message every one of us should be listening to very carefully. Now, before we go any further, I want to hint at something that's coming up as we work through today's countdown. Item number 3 on this list involves a food that I'm willing to bet sits in your pantry right now. But there's a timing error that nearly everyone makes during preparation that completely neutralizes its protective power. We're going to address that in just a few minutes, and I can tell you it fundamentally altered the way I approach cooking in my own kitchen. But first, I want to connect with you personally. Drop a comment down below and share with me your age and whether cancer has touched your life or the life of someone close to you. I personally read every single comment that comes through this channel, everyone. Your experience is important to me. It informs the videos I create and the topics I choose to cover. This platform exists because you're here, and I genuinely want to hear your voice today. We're going to count down from 5 all the way to number 1. Moving from highly effective to absolutely game-changing. These are 5 foods that oncology researchers are becoming genuinely enthusiastic about, and all of them are sitting on shelves at your neighborhood grocery store for just a few dollars. Let's get started. At number 5, and this one catches almost everyone off guard when I mention it, we're discussing chickpeas. Not the flashiest ingredient you'll see featured in a wellness magazine, not something that screams superfood, but chickpeas have surfaced in the scientific literature with a quiet, persistent strength that absolutely cannot be ignored. Investigators at the Anderson Cancer Center at the University of Texas published research demonstrating that compounds found in chickpeas, particularly a type of fiber called resistant oligosaccharides and a class of plant chemicals known as saponins, actively inhibited the growth of pancreatic cancer cells in controlled laboratory settings by as much as 71%. Pancreatic cancer remains one of the most aggressive malignancies affecting both men and women past 50, and the biological pathway here is truly remarkable. Think of resistant oligosaccharides as a time-release fuel source for your digestive system. Unlike simple carbohydrates that your body metabolizes rapidly and converts into blood sugar almost immediately, resistant oligosaccharides move through your upper digestive tract completely intact and arrive in your large intestine where beneficial bacteria consume them and generate molecules called short-chain fatty acids. One of those critical fatty acids, propionate, essentially signals abnormal cells in your colon and pancreas to initiate their own destruction before they have the opportunity to develop into something dangerous. Your system has this incredible built-in safeguard mechanism, and chickpeas help switch it on. Here's why this becomes particularly crucial for individuals beyond 50. As we accumulate years, something called intestinal barrier integrity begins to decline. Medical professionals sometimes refer to this as increased intestinal permeability. What this means in practical terms is that the protective lining of your digestive tract becomes less capable of containing potentially harmful substances. This sets up a persistent, low-level inflammatory state that cancer cells find extremely hospitable. Chickpeas directly combat this process. The fiber nourishes the beneficial bacterial colonies that strengthen that intestinal barrier, while the saponins actively reduce inflammation at the cellular level. For optimal preparation, dried chickpeas that you soak for 12 hours and then cook from scratch release considerably more of these protective compounds compared to their canned counterparts. Research indicates approximately 35% greater bioavailability. If convenience requires you to use canned chickpeas, drain them completely and rinse them under running water for at least 30 seconds. And here's your synergy strategy. Drizzle a tablespoon of high-quality extra virgin olive oil over them when you prepare them. The beneficial fats in olive oil significantly enhance your body's uptake of those fat-soluble plant compounds. 1 full cup 3 to 4 times weekly is the range that aligns with what the research supports. And trust me, that's incredibly simple to incorporate into hummus, soups, grain bowls, and roasted vegetable dishes. Let me share the story of Linda, a 71-year-old retired librarian from Austin, Texas, who attended one of my workshops 3 years ago. She carried a family history heavy with gastrointestinal cancers. Her father and 2 uncles, all diagnosed before age 65, and the fear was consuming her daily life. She restructured her entire nutritional approach around the principles I'm sharing with you today, incorporating chickpeas into her routine 4 times each week. During her follow-up endoscopy 14 months later, her gastroenterologist remarked that the condition of her digestive tract appeared remarkably healthy for someone her age. Linda told me later she wept with relief in that consultation room. She sent me a handwritten letter that I keep in my desk. Small adjustments, profound outcomes. Now we move to number 4. And I need your full attention here because we're addressing something that has been investigated in relation to ovarian, pancreatic, skin, and colorectal cancers simultaneously. We're talking about almonds. A collaborative research effort between scientists at the University of California, San Francisco, and the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center discovered that consuming just 1.5 ounces of almonds daily, roughly a small handful, was associated with a 42% reduction in markers linked to breast cancer recurrence in postmenopausal women who had previously been treated for the disease. 42% reduction from something you can keep in your purse and eat while sitting in traffic. The reason almonds demonstrate such powerful protective effects, particularly in aging populations, comes down to 3 synergistic mechanisms working simultaneously. First, almonds are extraordinarily rich in a form of vitamin E called gamma-tocopherol, which your body uses in a fundamentally different way than the alpha-tocopherol found in most supplements. Chronic oxidative stress, imagine it as rusting happening inside your cells, is now recognized by cancer researchers as one of the primary environments where malignant cells begin their transformation. Gamma-tocopherol from almonds acts like a targeted rust remover, neutralizing the specific free radicals that damage cellular DNA. Second, almonds contain a powerful flavonoid compound called quercetin, which laboratory studies from the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center have shown can interfere with a process called angiogenesis. Angiogenesis is the formation of new blood vessels, and tumors essentially hijack this natural process to create their own blood supply so they can grow and spread. Quercetin disrupts that hijacking mechanism, starving potential tumors before they can establish themselves. Third, almonds provide one of the richest plant-based sources of magnesium, and emerging research from the Karolinska Institute in Sweden has demonstrated that adequate magnesium status is directly correlated with improved DNA repair capacity. After age 60, your body's natural DNA repair machinery slows down by approximately 35 to 45%, and cellular replication errors that would have been caught and corrected in younger years begin slipping through. Magnesium helps restore some of that lost repair capacity. Consume them raw and with the skins on. The brown papery skin contains the highest concentration of those protective flavonoids. Roasting at high temperatures degrades both the vitamin E content and the quercetin significantly. The synergy strategy here is remarkably powerful. Pair your almonds with a small serving of dark berries, particularly blueberries or blackberries. The anthocyanins in the berries and the quercetin in almonds create what researchers at Tufts University have described as a multiplicative antioxidant effect, meaning the combined impact exceeds what either food produces alone. 1.5 ounces of raw almonds daily, preferably consumed in the late morning when your body's cortisol levels naturally dip and oxidative stress peaks. Moving now to number 3, and this is the preparation mistake I promised you earlier. I want you to think about a cruciferous vegetable that most people prepare completely wrong, rendering it far less effective than it should be. I'm talking about cauliflower, and specifically the critical waiting period that unlocks its full anti-cancer potential. Cauliflower, like all cruciferous vegetables, contains a precursor compound called glucoraphanin and a separate enzyme called myrosinase. When these two compounds come into contact, which happens naturally when you chew raw cauliflower, they combine to create sulforaphane, one of the most extensively studied anti-cancer molecules in all of nutritional biochemistry. The National Institutes of Health have described sulforaphane as demonstrating exceptional promise in cancer prevention research. Studies from the Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center found that sulforaphane activates a genetic pathway called NRF2. Think of NRF2 as the master control switch for your body's own cellular defense and detoxification system. When sulforaphane activates that switch, your cells produce a surge of protective enzymes that identify and neutralize carcinogens before they can cause DNA damage. Here's the critical problem that almost nobody knows about. When you cook cauliflower at temperatures above 140 degrees Fahrenheit, you completely destroy the myrosinase enzyme. The glucoraphanin remains intact, but without the enzyme to activate it, that precursor compound simply passes through your digestive system unused. You've eaten the cauliflower, you've checked the healthy eating box, and you've received maybe 15% of the anti-cancer protection you could have had. The solution is beautifully simple and requires exactly 60 minutes. Before you cook your cauliflower in any way, chop it into florets and let it rest on your cutting board for precisely 60 to 70 minutes. During that resting period, the mechanical damage from chopping activates the myrosinase enzyme and triggers sulforaphane formation before heat ever comes into contact with the vegetable. Once that sulforaphane is formed, it survives the cooking process. Then you can roast, steam, or sauté exactly as you normally would, and the sulforaphane that's already been created remains active and bioavailable. Research from the University of Reading in the United Kingdom found that this simple chopping and waiting technique increased sulforaphane bioavailability by over 280%. 280% from a 60-minute wait. Tell me that isn't worth adjusting your meal prep timing. Here's why cauliflower ranks so high on our list specifically for adults over 50. One of the biological hallmarks of aging is the accumulation of what scientists call senescent cells, cells that have stopped dividing but refuse to die. Instead, they linger in your tissues, secreting inflammatory molecules that damage surrounding healthy cells and create the exact environment that cancer cells thrive in. Research from the Buck Institute for Research on Aging demonstrated that sulforaphane selectively accelerates the removal of these senescent cells from the body. It's like a specialized cleanup crew that becomes increasingly essential as you age. I treated a patient named George, a 73-year-old retired engineer from Denver, Colorado. George had been monitoring elevated tumor markers related to prostate health for nearly 4 years, working closely with his urologist and managing significant anxiety about where those numbers might lead. He implemented several nutritional modifications, prominently featuring cauliflower prepared using this chopping and waiting method, along with the other foods we're discussing today. Over the course of 16 months, his tumor markers stabilized and then began trending downward. His urologist was appropriately cautious, but visibly surprised. George told me that discovering something concrete he could actually do gave him back a sense of control he thought he'd lost forever. That psychological shift matters more than most people realize, and I witness it repeatedly. 3 to 4 cups of cauliflower weekly, prepared with that 60-minute chop and wait technique. The synergy tip here is critical. After cooking your cauliflower, sprinkle it with a small amount of horseradish powder or mustard seed powder. Both of these contain their own myrosinase enzyme, and research from the University of Illinois confirmed that adding even a tiny amount to cooked cruciferous vegetables restored sulforaphane production almost completely, compensating even for heat-damaged enzyme. Mustard and cauliflower, one of the most scientifically validated combinations in cancer prevention nutrition. Before we get to number 2, if this information is proving valuable to you, and I believe it genuinely is, please take just 2 seconds to click that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I create new evidence-based health content specifically for adults over 50 every single week, and subscribing costs you nothing. Your support allows me to continue producing this content, and it helps YouTube show these videos to more people who desperately need this information. Thank you. And now number 1. The food at the top of this list is not glamorous, it won't trend on social media, and it costs almost nothing. But the research supporting it is so consistent, so replicated across so many institutions and so many cancer types, that I consider it the single most important food that most adults over 50 are not consuming in adequate amounts. I am talking about tomatoes, specifically cooked tomatoes, and the compound lycopene. Lycopene is a carotenoid, a red pigment, and it ranks among the most powerful antioxidants available in the human diet. A comprehensive meta-analysis published in the Journal of Cancer Epidemiology pooled data from 19 separate studies involving over 240,000 women and found that high lycopene intake was associated with a 31% reduction in breast cancer risk overall. Among women with the highest documented consumption, the reduction in aggressive hormone receptor-negative breast cancer risk reached 47%. The European Food Safety Authority has identified lycopene-rich diets as a priority area for cancer prevention research, and the protective evidence extends to lung, stomach, ovarian, and cervical cancers as well. Here's the remarkable twist that makes tomatoes unique on this entire list. Cooking dramatically increases lycopene bioavailability. Unlike sulforaphane in cauliflower, which requires careful timing, lycopene actually becomes more accessible to your body when tomatoes are heated. Lycopene is locked inside the cell walls of raw tomatoes in a configuration your digestive system struggles to break down and absorb. Heat breaks down those rigid cell walls and transforms lycopene into a molecular form your intestinal tract can uptake with remarkable efficiency. A study from Cornell University demonstrated that cooking tomatoes for 25 minutes increased lycopene absorption by 62% compared to raw tomatoes. Canned tomatoes, tomato paste, marinara sauce, and sun-dried tomatoes are genuinely more medically potent than fresh tomatoes from a lycopene perspective. For aging bodies specifically, lycopene performs two crucial protective functions beyond its well-established antioxidant activity. First, it has been shown to suppress IGF-1, a growth factor that increases in many adults as they age and that actively promotes the proliferation of cancer cells. Think of IGF-1 as a biochemical signal that tells cells to grow and divide, including the ones you absolutely do not want growing. Lycopene turns down that signal. Second, research from the University of Portsmouth found that lycopene specifically protects mitochondrial DNA, the genetic material inside your cell's energy-producing factories, from oxidative damage at a rate that was significantly more pronounced in older tissue than in younger tissue. After age 65, your mitochondria operate less efficiently and become more vulnerable to this type of damage. Lycopene appears to specifically address that age-related vulnerability. 4 to 5 servings of cooked tomato products weekly is the target supported by research. A serving is half a cup of tomato sauce or 1/4 cup of tomato paste. The synergy strategy here is absolutely non-negotiable. Always consume your cooked tomatoes with a healthy fat. Lycopene is fat-soluble, meaning it requires fat to be absorbed through your intestinal wall. Eating tomato sauce without olive oil is like having a key without a lock to open. The olive oil is the lock. Research from Ohio State University confirmed that adding healthy fat to tomato products increased lycopene absorption by nearly 350%. This is why traditional Mediterranean cooking, combining olive oil, garlic, and tomatoes together, has such a compelling association with lower cancer rates in those populations. Food culture and biochemistry arrived at the same answer. These 5 foods, chickpeas, almonds, cauliflower prepared correctly, and cooked tomatoes with healthy fat, represent something extraordinary. They represent the intersection of ancient culinary wisdom and modern cancer research. They cost almost nothing. They require no prescription. They produce no side effects other than improved health. And every single one of them has been rigorously studied by legitimate researchers at legitimate institutions whose published work I have referenced for you in the description below this video. I want to speak to you directly for a moment. If you are over 60 or 70, you may sometimes feel that the window for meaningful health change has closed, that the damage is done, the genetics are locked, the trajectory is fixed. I need you to hear this clearly. The research says otherwise. Multiple studies have confirmed that dietary interventions in adults over 65 can meaningfully alter cancer biomarkers, immune function, and cellular health within weeks to months of implementation. It is never, and I mean never, too late to give your body better information through better nutrition. The goal is not just longer life, it is more vital life, more independent life, more mornings where you wake up feeling capable and strong and present for the people you love. That is what this is ultimately about. That is what every piece of research on this list is serving. You deserve to have this information. You deserve to have it years ago. And I am grateful every single day that platforms like this allow us to have this conversation. If this video helped you today, please subscribe right now. It costs you nothing, and it means everything to this channel and to the community we're building here together. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video, and leave me a comment answering this. Which of these 5 foods are you going to add to your routine first? Has this video changed how you'll prepare any of them? I want to know. I read every comment. You are not just a viewer to me. You are the reason this work matters. I'm Dr. Laura Berman, and I'll see you in the next video.